Hey guys, I wanted to try out papier-mâché for Halloween decorations. I bought a bunch of Elmer's glue. I used this to prime and these paint colors. I mixed 1 bottle of glue with a 1/4 cup of water. First, I made a bowl. I inflated a balloon, then made a circle using cardstock and taped it to the balloon to form its base. I glued strips of newspaper to it. Wait for it to completely dry and remove the balloon. I taped yarn around it and drew a line to cut to even out the bowl. Then primed it and painted it. Next, I made pumpkins. I inflated a balloon but didn't tie it. Tape each section so that the yarn doesn't move. Then add more air to the balloon. Tie the balloon. Then glue strips of magazine or newspaper around it. Next, remove the balloon and yarn. With all of the pumpkins that I made, some part of the paper always stuck to the balloon. So if you have any suggestions on how to have it not stick, that would be great. I used the end of a long paintbrush to reform the pumpkin. Next, fold and twist newspaper to create a stem. Then tape it over the hole. Prime it and paint it. I made 8 pumpkins. Then I made a Venus flytrap. I had a variety pack of balloons and used the biggest size from the pack. I covered it with 2 layers of newspaper and let it dry. Then I deflated the balloon and reformed the ball. I didn't make the teeth sharp because that's where the Halloween treats will go. I glued and taped thin wire around the mouth to make it more stable. Then covered it with newspaper. Prime it and paint it. Next, I made a pedestal because I had extra cardboard and styrofoam. I cut 4 rectangles, but not completely. Then taped the ends together. I cut 2 squares out of cardboard and 2 out of styrofoam. Then covered it with newspaper. Prime it and paint it. I made a small black box out of the leftover cardboard. I also made 2 small balls. I turned one into an eyeball and one into a small Venus flytrap. And here's how they turned out.